Hey guys, it's Drew with Diving Sports, and today I want to talk to you about neutral buoyancy while scuba diving. This is going to be the first of our skills videos to help educate and refresh new or returning divers to scuba diving. However, none of these videos are meant to replace any actual training from an agency professional, so please be safe when you're going diving. One of the key skills for any diver is going to be good buoyancy control. It's going to affect how much gas you use. It's going to affect your energy and whether or not you are kicking the bottom or sensitive wildlife. It also changes your overall comfort level during any dive. You will see the best divers are always in control of their buoyancy and trim in any situation. And it all comes down to understanding a little bit of physics and a whole lot of practice. Now, before you freak out, I don't mean you have to be able to solve complex physics problems. I just mean understanding the basics of how water and air interact with each other and what we mean when we talk about your center of gravity. If you're not already familiar with the idea of neutral buoyancy, let's break it down as simply as possible. Essentially, you have two forces on you when you jump in the water. You have the force of gravity pulling you down, and you have the buoyant force of the dense water pushing you up. That is why you fall through air, but not water. The water is much more dense, so it holds you up better. Then, as we go deeper and there is more water on top of us, the pressure of the water increases, causing any flexible air spaces like your wetsuit foam or your dry suit to shrink. That is why you have to add air to your BCD or your dry suit as you descend. So in order to be neutrally buoyant at any time, you need the weight of you and your gear to equal the weight of the water that you displace. This is easier said than done for one main reason: you need to breathe. Now, this is the main part where people start to struggle. Since you have to breathe all the time to stay alive, you are always adding air to your overall system and removing air, meaning your buoyancy characteristics change every couple of seconds. What new divers tend to have a hard time with as they're learning is understanding exactly how much the breathing is going to affect their buoyancy. On a dive, assuming you are properly weighted to begin with and you have inflated enough to compensate for all the compression at depth, as you take a slow breath in, you will increase your buoyancy because you're adding gas to the system, so you will start to float up. When you exhale, all that gas gets released from your lungs and you lose buoyancy, so you start to sink. The average person has between 5 and 10 pounds of lift in their lungs when they fully inhale. All that to say, the way you are breathing will make a massive difference on your buoyancy control. Once you take some time to realize how you are breathing, you will notice how much it affects your overall buoyancy control. So let's see how that works. As we descend, we're gonna get a lot heavier, so you can see we're adding air to slow the fall or the descent. As soon as I've added enough gas in my BCD or my dry suit, I'm gonna cancel out the weight of gravity, so now I'm hovering. So now let's take a closer look at breathing. We'll start with the poor breathing technique, which you see with a lot of new divers when they are not used to using scuba gear. So the first one we're looking at is fast breathing or hyperventilating. This will not give the air in your lungs enough time to properly affect your buoyancy. You always use gas really fast and you always feel tired. Since you are breathing quickly and not efficiently, you spend most of the dive with your lungs full, which leads to positive buoyancy. Hyperventilating can also be dangerous for two reasons. It sends your body into fight or flight mode, which can trigger anxiety and panic, and it can also result in CO2 buildup, which can cause dizziness, nausea, and even blackouts. The second one we'll look at is the big inhale with a small exhale. This is usually a little more controlled than full hyperventilation, but your lungs are always mostly full, so you are always positively buoyant and uncomfortable. This will force you to adjust your BCD more often throughout your dive, since your breathing is still somewhat erratic. So the occasional time that you actually relax and breathe out all the way, you crash into the bottom, panic a little bit, and then add some air to your BCD, and then you start the classic yo-yo. When someone breathes this way, it's usually because they aren't uncomfortable in the water, but they aren't 100% comfortable breathing, since their brain hasn't really understood that air will come back if they breathe out all of the way. So let's look at proper breathing technique. You want a very even, slow exchange of gas in and out of your lungs. That way, for the majority of the time, your buoyancy increase and decrease will be the same. You will also notice that since you are breathing in and out much slower, two things are gonna happen. Number one, your buoyancy will change mid-breath instead of at the end, so you aren't as likely to hold a big breath in or out, which is much more comfortable. and because you are taking a longer time to cycle a full breath, the gas in your tank will almost immediately last 3 to 4 times longer. Proper breathing technique is less about the amount of gas that you're breathing in and out, and more about the amount of time you take through the cycle. So that just about wraps it up for this video. Obviously, I could go on and on talking about different breathing techniques, when to deviate from the ideal way of breathing, and so on, but I can make more videos discussing that in the future. If you have any comments, please share them below. I'd love to hear what you think. I am planning on doing a full educational series on scuba diving from the beginner basics all the way to more advanced stuff, so subscribe if you would like to see more of that in the future. Follow us on Instagram to see what we're up to, check out our website for upcoming courses, and I will see you in the next video.